Okay, you guys, so today we're going to break down the bench press because while it is not necessarily a complicated lift in and of itself, the setup is extremely important. From the very beginning, like when you approach your bench press setup, for those of you who are bench pressing in a rack or at the gym with just a regular bench press, when you approach the bar, you want to make sure that your bar is even on the rack. You don't want it over here so that already your weight is offset. So make sure your bar is even right off the bat, and that your bench, if your bench is movable like you're at home, that your bench is set up right underneath the bar and not off to the side. So once you've got your bench and your bar set up, I want to point out a couple of things. You'll notice on your bars that there are grooves. There's this like textured part and then there's this smooth part. So textured and then smooth. Now, we have these little rings on ours, but these are actually, this is like an older bar, and more newer barbells will have a ring right about here, probably 2.5 to 3 inches away from that smooth part of your bar, and that will be where you place about your ring finger. So we've got our bar set up, we've got our bench set up. Now I'm gonna come underneath the bar. Be careful that you don't bonk your head, right? So tuck your chin, come back to the ground, come back to the bench. Now, how wide do we want our hands? Not too wide, but also not too narrow. So a great way to figure this out is to come to the bottom of the bench press movement, and you'll notice my elbows are at an angle as if I were doing push-ups. So remember, we don't do push-ups out here, and we don't do bench press out here. In push-ups and in bench press, we make a W shape with our arms. So we make this W shape rather than these two L's out here. So this is how wide I'm gonna want my wrist. Now that I know how far I want my wrists apart, I'm just gonna travel up to this bar. Second thing, or third thing, maybe I'm at the fifth thing, check out your wrists. We don't want broken wrists. We want long and strong wrists with our thumbs wrapped around the bar, because if we don't have our thumbs wrapped around the bar, it's easier to roll back and for the bar to slide. So wrap your thumbs around the bar, make sure your wrists are nice and long. Now before I lift this barbell off of the rack, I'm gonna tuck my shoulder blades underneath my back and I'm gonna lock them down my spine. So notice how my chest just went from like almost concave, now it's got some liftness. So think bridge pose in yoga. Shoulder blades are secured down the back. So with my shoulder blades secured, the front of my shoulders and my chest are now gonna be nice, strong, and secure. I'm going to push the bar off of the rack. And notice, my bar is no longer over my nose. That's exactly what we want. We're gonna lower down towards the bra line because I'm making a W shape with my elbows. Go down to about 90-degree bend at the elbow and then push the bar back up and overhead. Now, one thing that you may not be aware of, but I want to point out is this, it's a thing called the bar path. This is not a straight up and down movement. Then I have to move my elbows out. It's the barbell is going to move at a slight diagonal away from my nose. So I go down to the bra line and then back up above my chin. Down to the bra line, up and above my chin. All the while, my shoulder blades are locked and loaded. Also, my feet are firmly pressing into the ground. So while this is a manageable load here, if it were to get really heavy and I needed a little bit extra push, I could push into my feet and drive up even harder. So towards the bra line, then up and over the chin or the nose. And then to put it back, get your arms fully extended, then place it back on the safeties, and that is your bench press. I'm gonna sit up and talk about this. So you wanna feel this in your chest and not in your shoulders. If you start to feel a shoulder strain, chances are your hands are out too far apart, your shoulder blades are not locked down the back, or what could the other thing be? I don't know, one of those two things. So you shouldn't feel pain in the front of your shoulders. You're working the pecs, you're working the chest. And for the bar line, it doesn't go straight up and down, it goes at a little bit of a diagonal. Press through the feet, shoulder blades locked and loaded, and with that, you've got a really strong bench press.